Hey, everybody, this is your girl, Liana Michelle, and as always, I am faithfully her. I want to thank you guys for tuning in and joining with me today. I have a beautiful young author on with us. Look at her smile, everybody. This is, and she's going to explain this, okay? But this is
Oh,
L Gilchrist. But we're
yeah.
going to call her Keisha for today. um,
Yes.
she is a self-published author. She writes commercial fiction with a godly message. She has been writing books for about 20 years or so now. And she has been just putting out these messages through her books about the love of God and the love of self and so forth. So we're going to dive right in and get to meet her. So I would like for everybody to please put your hands together and welcome Miss K. L. Gilchrist.
Hi. Hi. Thank you so much, Liana, for having me. It's so great to be here. I'm honored to be here. Thanks so much.
Oh no, thank you. I'm always happy and excited to meet new people and learn more about people's journey and the things that they're doing to impact somebody else's life. So it's a truly honor and blessing for me to be able to sit here and talk to you today.
Thanks.
So let's
Um,
jump right in. Let's explain the name.
okay.
K.L. Gilchrist. I want y'all to go out here and look for that name on books and
Yes.
everything. Okay. So let's get into that.
So let's explain that. I chose K.L. Gilchrist as my author name because I wanted to, my name is kind of long, first of all. Um, and it's also hyphenated. So when I thought to myself that when I wanted to publish, I was like, "Ooh, this, you can put all of this here. This is going to be really long." So my friends, I like to put it like this: my friends and family call me Keisha because that is my first name. My mama, who I love dearly, calls me Lavinia, so I wanted to get that in there. Gilchrist is actually my given birth name, and when I looked up the meaning of Gilchrist, it said helper of the Lord. I was like, well, I don't want to use my married name. I got to put Gilchrist there because that's
Right.
really in keeping of what I'm doing with this writing thing. And then my married name is Brooms. So just to shorten all of that and keep it, nice and short, KL Gilchrist is what I go by when I'm doing this fiction thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's good for the autographs too,
Oh,
right?
it's good for the autographs. There you go. See, you know where we're going with this. Yes.
Good for the autographs. So
Yes.
let's just go right in. First of all, where are you from? Where did you grow
I
up?
am, I'm sorry. I am originally from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, but I moved to Philadelphia and I've lived in Philadelphia so many years. I'm going to tell my age, but it's such a very, very, very long time. So I like to say that I'm mostly from Philadelphia, but I did grow up in Harrisburg, PA.
Okay. I
So,
think
but
you're the first
Philly.
person I've met from PA. So
Hey, yeah, yes,
yeah.
yes. Right
So
here in Philly. Yeah.
yes, that is good. I like that. So that way when I'm traveling, I have a friend
You
everywhere.
have a friend. Yes, yes, yes.
So your love for writing, was that something that happened early on in life, or did you always know? How did that passion for writing come about?
Oh my goodness. Wow. Um, I've always loved the written word. I've always loved books. I was that introverted kid who, like, a trip to the library with my dad was like a trip to carnival. Um, I when I got my first like little library card, he would let me go and I would just pick out stuff and spend just weekends reading. I mean, and I can remember this from like way back from like when I was uh maybe like first, second grade or whatever. Like my nana would
Okay.
take me to little book fairs at my school, and like the biggest thing was that she was like, okay, well, you can pick out any book that you want to pick out a book. And then when I was really little, she was teaching me to read, and when I learned how to read, I just took over from there. I think at a certain point when I remember it kind of gelling for me that I wanted to write for my life, no matter what I wanted to do, because I'll get into that too. um it was around the eighth grade. This teacher wanted us to write essays, and I won an essay contest.
Okay.
Just writing, I think about the topic I believe was self-awareness. And I knew from then, and I had started writing little journals around that time too. So I was maybe about 13, 14 years old. I was I just knew. I was like, the written word and I are going to be in a marriage for the rest of my life. I'll either be working at a publishing house, or I'll be writing something, or I'll be designing something, or something will be written. And then when I got into high school, I used to hang out with my older cousin Dawn, and she used to take me with her to Baltimore, Maryland, about every other month or so, because she used to get these long micro braids done. And just so happened that her braider, her name was McCoy, and she had these floor to ceiling bookshelves that were just huge. And that was my first time getting in touch with a ton of books by Black writers.
Oh, wow.
I still remember it to this day. I just remember my cousin sitting down and McCoy starting on the braids. I remember going over to McCoy and saying, can I read these? Can I? Is it okay? Can I go? She, oh yeah, go ahead. I would just take book after book off that shelf, and for hours I would just sit there and read. It was Alice Walker and James Baldwin, and I think very like all the names are just from Toni Morrison and J. California Cooper, who became one of my just ultimate favorites. Just book after book after book, I just started reading. Some part of me at that time was like, yeah, I'm gonna at some point, I don't know when. And I didn't get saved until I was like my early 20s. So there was no such thing as saying, well, I don't know when God was gonna. Not at that time, I didn't say that. I just knew that I was gonna write. And then when I got saved, I was like 23. I had gone through college, and I had thought that I was maybe do journalism, and I didn't really gel with journalism that well, even though I ended up getting a degree in public relations. I just decided, well, what's easiest for me to start writing? And it turned out I met a lady who needed people to write in the software world, believe it or not, to write marketing communications and to write technical guides and things like that. And I was like, well, I can write anything. So I started working in software, which, by the way, was a really good decision, because I didn't know at the time that software people make a pretty decent amount of money. And it was not all that hard to do. I used to tell my younger people, I was like, oh, if you can get anywhere near technology nowadays, it's just the fastest way to make money. But it's not something that you do if you want life to be exciting. It's not really exciting. It's working with engineers and writing everything, guides that go with products and everything else. Yeah. So that's how I started, and did that for a long time. And then one day, it's 2023 now, exactly 2003-ish, I had been sitting down in the evenings, and I wrote like my first fiction story. And I love to tell this story because I how do I put this? I read everything. Now, I just told you I read everything, right? I had been reading at the time. I don't know if you remember back in the late 90s, but there was just a lot of street lit going on, a lot of street literature going on. So I was like, okay, and I had been saved for a few years by the time I wrote this first little fiction piece and wrote the end on everything. It wasn't even that long. Oh my goodness. It was about the length of a novella, but I called it a novel. It's called Living This Life. Living This Life will never see the light of day. It was 20 years ago. It'll never see the light of day. Because I read over it. I still have it in my office here. It's horrible. It's about it is. I'm telling you, Liana, I'm telling you, it's horrible. It was about a stripper who came to Jesus. I kid you not.
Oh.
Stripper that came to Jesus.
Sinners need love too.
There you go. That was the vein I was in with that story. And no, it's I looked at it later on. I was like, no, I want to write fiction, but I don't think this is it. So put that to the side. and stop me if I'm going, because I can just go and go and go and go,
No,
and stop
no,
me if I'm
it's just funny because when you said that, that was the first thing that came to my head, Color Purple, when she was on Sinners Need Love, Sinners Have Souls too, Daddy, or whatever. And it's a lot of women out there who were young, because I was young and I used to dance as well back in my younger days. And I went to church and loved the Lord and prayed and everything. And a lot of times they kind of want to put you in that box of, oh, she's an exotic dancer and that is who she is. And they don't understand that, no, we're people too. We have kids, we're going to school, we paying bills, you know what I'm saying? Like, we go to the grocery store every day. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and we do go to church too, and we pray and we love the Lord and everything. And maybe this is just a temporary thing. So I kind of love the idea that you wrote about a stripper finding her way back to Jesus.
I'm glad. Maybe that book should be rewritten. I don't know. But
yeah, just tweak it up, just tweak it a little bit.
Maybe I will. What's interesting is you're not the only person that said it. Somebody said I think I was I did an Instagram live once, and one person wrote in the comments and said, "Yeah, I'd like to see that book." So I don't know, maybe those characters come back out. The main character's name was Jasmine, and maybe I'll rewrite it now that I know how to write a little better, write fiction a little better. But that was my first,
and it could be about, and since at this day and age, you can advance it to the Instagram models.
Yeah, see, now we're collaborating. Now
we're
collaborating.
Like, just update it a little bit. Take her out the club and put her on Instagram.
Out the club and and she meets up with these crazy Bible study people and starts listening and starts going through a bit of a transformation. And I think I had her on the run from a drug dealer pimp. And
wow.
Yeah, I had a whole, because you gotta have,
it was like
conflict.
A little bit of Sister Soldier.
Yeah. There was a little, but she'd come and she changed her life by the end of the book. But yeah, that was my first foray into fiction writing. But I'm glad to say that I looked at that, wasn't really like, oh yeah, I don't think I could put this out. Fast forward to around 2010-ish, and I had just had my youngest child, and I said, I'm gonna make something that's actually real. I'm gonna take some classes, and I did. I went to Gotham Writers, I think it's called Gotham Writers Conference, something like that. And it's like these online writing courses. And I took my first one, and I took fiction writing 1, and then I took fiction writing 2. And they taught me all about plot and theme and conflict and stakes, character stakes, the inner wound, the core wound, and all of that type of stuff that goes into, like, every good book has that stuff. But unless you're in fiction writing, a lot of people won't really know. We're just like, what are you talking about? But there has to be these like pieces in it that makes the characters move. It makes the story move. And I didn't know any of that back when I wrote Living This Life. So I was like, okay. I took that and I came up with a book called Mrs. Jones. Wrote Mrs. Jones all the way through. I don't know what I have with scandalous people, but that's how it comes to me. That book never saw the light of day either. And I was like, oh, yeah. My mom loved that title, by the way. She's like, oh, Keisha, that. I was like, she was like, I like the story, but I don't like the title. But that was the very first book that I pitched to like a publishing company. And one came back and had notes to me and said, I kind of like this. I like this premise. And she gave me some really optimistic things. The editor was like, this shows some promise. You might have something here, but I think you should think about rewriting this. And I was like, okay. I took a little time, and I didn't write it right away because I had little toddler in the house tearing things up or whatever. It took me maybe like another year or so. And then I went to this conference called the Greater Christian the Greater Christian Philadelphia Writers Conference.
Okay.
I went there and I went to a workshop. And this is when everything really changed for me. I met a woman there who read the first chapter. The book was still called Mrs. Jones. I had changed some stuff with it. And she pulled me to the side in the hallway. And right now the author's name is escaping me. Hopefully the Lord will bring it to mind. But she pulled me aside and she said, what I read here, you can do something with this. Like this will actually work for publishing. She said, do you have the rest of the book? And I said, yes. And she said, I want you to take a full year and rewrite it. Take the year, you should rewrite it because you have, and I'll never forget, she said, you have X factor, which means you can really do this. If it takes you a year, rewrite. And so I took her advice and I took the full year and I rewrote it, got some more eyes on it, got some, we call them reading groups, beta reading groups. I got a bunch of people, not friends, because I always tell people, don't get friends. Friends and family will not tell you if your writing is bad. You have to get people who kind of know you, but don't know you enough to really hurt your feelings. They'll just tell you what they think about the book. So I got like friends of friends and people that my husband worked with, and they read it and they were like, they gave me comments and stuff back. And that book changed the name and used some characters, rewrote the plot, brand new plot and everything else. And it ended up being my first book, Broken Together. And that's the book that I released. It's actually sitting here. It's this book right here.
Yeah. That is
put that out
excellent.
2017. See how long?
Yeah, because sometimes it takes a while. And that's what one of the things I did, I wanted to kind of just go back to with what you were saying, because a lot of times, especially in this day and age, everybody wants it right away. But it's important to know, like, you have to put the work in. I always tell people, God bless the child that has his own. It doesn't mean that you have your own sitting on a pot of gold. It means you have your own, like you have a drive, you have that will, that determination to go out there and work for it, to get your hands dirty, to learn what you need to learn, to put in the time that you need to put in to make it to that next level. And when you put those things in, and God can see that dedication, that he'll open up those doors, and he'll put things in your path, and he'll put people in your path. Like the lady who pulled you out in the hallway, the first thing I thought was, when you were saying that is how God can sometimes deliver messages to us through others.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Oh, in that moment when you were talking about that, that's the first thing I thought about is, oh, she was delivering a message to you. She was letting you know you got it. You can do this. This is in you. Just take some time and cultivate it. You know what I'm saying? Water the plants, baby. They gonna grow.
So you can do this. You can do this. You have to listen to God's message. You have to listen to God's open doors and God's closed doors.
Yes.
Because for a fact, there's sometimes when stuff will, things will shut on you. But that's God too. That's God too. That, because some shut doors are in this story too. Pitching the book and getting rejections, which is a part of every author's life. And I had to make a decision. I remember getting on my knees and just putting my face in the cushion in the couch and saying to the Lord, it's okay. Well, everyone who's read through this, and I even got a separate editor to go through it, with fine-tooth comb, make sure it was okay. I was like, Lord, I'm getting rejections. Everybody's telling me that it could be a long road to getting this published, but I think that I don't know if I want to sit on this, Lord. I don't know if I want to sit on it. And before I even got up from that prayer, I heard clearly, well, you're supposed to glorify God, and you're not supposed to bury your talent. You're not supposed to run from it and say, oh, I'll keep it safe over here and I'll just polish it. No, that's not what you do as a faith-filled person. I did all my diligence. Really, this was ready to go, because so many people had looked at it at that point. But if it wasn't ready for, or if it wasn't like the timing wasn't right, or the market wasn't right, and because that can be a big thing with publishing too. It's like, well, this
Right.
story is fine, but the market's not hot for this right now, or whatever. I knew that I had other stories that I needed to start working on, and I was like, well, I just want to see how this does, Lord. So I'm not going to bury this. I'm going to go ahead and go the self-publishing route and go ahead and get it out there. And Lord, if you want me to do anything different, then you'll tell me. But he didn't. As a matter of fact, doors open for how I could do that. And it ended up being really affordable, and it ended up being a really professional product. And it got out there and it's available. And it wasn't like a headache to
Okay.
put it out, have it available. I know sometimes with self-publishing, if you haven't gone to enough conferences to know how to do it the right way, if you can take
Mhm.
anybody's offer and they'll say, well, here, give me $7,000 and I'll publish it for you. And that's not, no one ever has to do anything like that. I
Okay.
didn't have to do that. And I just knew God was saying, just no, this is very, very simple, very simple. Do the
Mhm.
professional things. So yeah, you self-publishing. There is an investment. There's an investment in outside editor. There's an investment in a cover designer. There's an investment in
Yeah.
very good internal formatting. But those are all things that any book, I always say the only difference between self-publishing and traditional publishing is who's writing the check for the professional person who's going to have to do the internal work. Is it another
Okay.
company on your behalf? They're still
Right.
going to have to pay the cover designer. Is it you? You're going to have to pay the cover
Right.
designer, or the interior designer, anyone who does
Right.
artwork. It's, and I knew,
Right.
I was like, okay, well, I'll find people who, and what's interesting in this market is like, you'll, and I see this more and more as I get with every book, I see it more and more, that the very same people who are working with the publishing companies
Mhm.
are the same people that you can contact on your own. The
Yeah.
same editors, the same cover designers, the same, and you can tell from their portfolios, they'll tell you. They're like, oh yeah, I worked for years at this, publishing, but it's still,
Right.
they still
Right.
have those talents. It's who's paying them to do it.
Right. Right. Because they just coming in for their pay for their end of the work. And
Right.
when you're going through, I guess, a publishing house, they're charging you a little bit more to cover their costs to them. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? So yeah, I definitely can understand that. When you're pitching a book,
Mm-hmm.
if somebody is pitching a book, what how should that look for them? Like what elements should they be sending the full book, just the chapter? How should they go about pitching?
Oh, that's a great question. You mean for traditional, right?
Yes.
Okay. For traditional, there's two roads. If you are fiction like myself, you need to have your entire manuscript completely done,
Okay.
because nobody wants to see pieces. And you have to have a query letter, and you don't necessarily have to have like a large following on social media or anything like that. It's good to have a great story. So your query letter has to include a good synopsis, very, very short. I wouldn't even call it synopsis, just a description of what's inside of the story.
Mhm.
You have to name who's in the story and the genre. So for me,
Okay.
I'm contemporary fiction. The only reason I use the word contemporary is because I don't want people to think that I'm writing historical. For some reason, there's a lot of people who think that if you're writing faith-based, or you're writing Christian, you're writing like historical stuff, or you're writing romances. And I'm like, no, no, I'm
Okay.
two other different genres. So for fiction, that query letter, that full manuscript, and typically you go to the publisher's website if they're accepting things directly from people. Now, if
Okay.
they're not, then you're pitching to an agent. And then if the agent likes it, the agent will pitch
We'll
it to
picture it.
publishing houses. But
Okay.
honestly, it's the same thing. It's like you'd still have a query letter and you'd still have your full manuscript. You don't send the full manuscript unless they ask for it, but they all have different what do you call it, criteria that they're
Okay.
looking for it. And you pay close attention to it. Some will say they want first 10 pages. Some will say first 25. Some will say first full chapter. And everybody wants that query letter though. And you should be done with the whole, and you should be able to say how long that story is. So with Broken Together, it was like Broken Together. This is 85,000 words approximately. And how they can contact you if they're interested.
Okay.
And you just wait. You wait. Now with nonfiction, sometimes I feel like if you have a good following and a good enough a good enough book that's really well needed, it's really, really, really neat. Like if you think of like the hot topics that are going on right now, any of them, like we have a violence problem going on in Philadelphia right now.
Yeah.
So if you wrote anything that was a social, how to, handle predicaments with the police or anything like that, if it was a hot topic and it was written well, someone could get that published nowadays relatively, I wouldn't say relatively easy, but if they wrote well and it was a hot topic, it'd be a much easier route to just having 1 or 2 chapters, and then a publisher or an agent saying, okay, yeah, I'd like to see more of this. Send me more of this, because they want to strike while the iron's hot. Nonfiction, book. So they don't have to necessarily have the whole, I would say with fiction, it's like we have to take a bigger gamble, man, because we got to have the entire thing done. With nonfiction, no. I'm working with a nonfiction writer right now because I'm consulting with her, and she's got a great book. I can't really talk about it right now, but she's got a great, really helpful message, and it's timely. And I told her, I said, you shouldn't have to self-publish it. You can go ahead and try to get an agent for this. And she said, well, why, why do you think so? I said, because it's a hot topic. This is something that is going to help people right now. So hon, you're about to be on. So we're going to get this book ready, and we're going to get these chapters ready. And I think you should go ahead and pitch it, and someone would want to publish this and get it out.
So you just talked about, you're working with somebody now. Do you do that often? Like maybe mentor younger writers or
absolutely
speak and do work? Have you started doing workshops or anything to help other people?
Just recently, I'll say just in 2022, yeah, I started talking about my experiences and everything, because I feel like each one teach one. If I've been there, and I think I love doing it. I love doing it because it's like, oh, if I could stop somebody from doing half the mistakes. And let me tell you, I failed my way all the way up, and I was like, well, God, you get the glory out of all this failure. For all the fail, once you get the glory, I always want to be that person. It's like, no, don't do that. Do this. Because we want you to get out there, especially all of my faith-filled people, all my Christian folks. I still want to. I'm like, yeah, this is what I learned. This is I go. You want to do things this way. People can listen to you and not listen to you, but I always want to be able to provide something where it's helpful. Like if I learned it, then you don't necessarily have to go through the mistake that I went through.
Right.
Pass it on to them. So I like working with new authors because they're excited, and it's inspiring to see their work and want to and encourage them, to be able to encourage them. It's great.
We are going to do some things. Oh my God, you fit right into Faithfully Hers plan for the future. But that's a whole nother subject. So
right.
we're talking about it. I'm glad. But as you're talking, I'm like, yep, I've got me a writer now.
Love writing. Yeah.
Have you thought about plays or turning any of the books that you have into that play, and maybe start tapping into that Philly theater type market?
You know what? I'm so glad you asked it, because I've had at least 3 friends ask me, do you think you'll ever do a stage play? And I said, I know that stage play writing that's a different skill set. And I'd have to study that skill set. I I think I'd be a little more interested in converting. At this point, I now have 5 books on the market, and I want to,
Put some respect on her name.
I want to. I'd want to change them into like screenplays before I did anything on stage, and the reason being is because streaming services are just exploding.
The huge thing, yeah.
They can't get enough new content, and I'm just like, I think, my faith-based crowd, we always need, I think we always need more TV shows. We always need more movies. There's not enough, especially if you're, Black, Indian, Latino, Asian, faith-based stuff. I see, and I'm just like, look, it looks like there's an area there. We're not getting as many feature films, or the feature films aren't necessarily touching. There's a way. I think there's a way that we relate as Black people, and I think there's a way that there's a flavor that we have. And you know what? I think there's a couple of movies, but there's not. I don't think there's like flooding. I don't think the amount of movies flooding the market for like the faith-based crowd is maybe where I would like to see it. And I'm being very careful with my words because I do not want to be critical.
Right.
I just, that, like, I don't like when people criticize, but I don't like, I would say I haven't necessarily maybe experienced yet what I'd like to see.
Yeah.
Not that I haven't seen anything good. I just haven't necessarily seen what I'd like to see it for the faith-based crowd. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, because I know I think TD Jakes did a made for TV type movie or something. That was a good one.
That was a good one. Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying. Like, it's not enough of it, and it's not enough that's tapping into the variations of who we are as people living in America and going through life and different cultures and backgrounds and everything. And I get what you're saying. I'm with you.
It's like, and with the cinematography and just different ways of playing with film, and having more than just one camera, straight camera narrative, split narratives, and all kinds of I even thought, well, even animation. We haven't. I'm like, when I saw the movie was Into the Spider-Verse, me and my daughter, my husband, my son, we love Into the Spider-Verse, but I thought to myself, the way that film was stylized, the way I was like, why couldn't we have a faith-based film? Is anybody thinking of doing this? Have we not done? I'm like, I would love to be able to I'd love to collaborate. I would love to collaborate. Like, I keep thinking, like, one of the things that, just like you were saying, you got your coaching and stuff started. I'd love to have I want to get something started where it's like a think tank for Christian creatives or whatever. I was like, because we need to see each other more. We need to like feed off of each other. Like, just you and I together, we're connecting, and we're like 10 of us is like, oh, we could do this, we could do that, we could,
Right. And what really made me think about that is one of the future endeavors of Faithfully Her is to start a nonprofit, a branch.
Nice.
And in the nonprofit branch, it's really focused on youth. And what I would like to do, we have a lot of youth organizations. We have basketball camps, we have this and we have that. And I have always liked to read. And I like to read because it was an escape. I love a story that catches me up to where I am the character running through the field, and I can smell the flowers and I can feel the mist of water. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love books that wrap me up into it and you can't get away from it. And even when you're done with it, the story lives with you.
It lives with you
for a moment or two. You know what I'm saying? Even after the fact. So I love to read. And when I was younger, and even now, I be telling people, I wanted to be Erica Kane.
Was it All My Children?
Yeah.
All My Children? children. Yes, 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 yes,
Yes,
yes.
girl, even
Yeah.
to this day, I have my fuzzy champagne little heels. Girl, please. I don't wear them though. I don't wear them, but I have a pair. So,
Oh my
but
goodness.
like when I was in ninth grade, my ninth grade English teacher taught drama at U of D here in Michigan, U of D Detroit, and
Uh-huh.
once a week she would let me go with her as her assistant, and I would get to sit and watch them on the stage rehearsing and going over their acting drills and things like that. So I've always been fascinated
Uh-huh.
with it. So one of the things that I said I want to do with the nonprofit side of Faithfully Her is that I want to bring art into it. I want people to be able to explore the artist side of them,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
whether it's writing, acting, it's so many different facets to it, because you have your lighting, you have your stage directors, you
Mm-hmm.
have your
Mm-hmm.
set people. It's so many different things that goes into making a production. And I said, I want to bring that element to youth and say, hey, here's another option. If you like this, but you don't know how to get into it, you don't know where to start, you don't know what it all entails, then I would like to bring you into this type of a workshop and make that a nonprofit type situation where
Yes.
they can
Yes.
learn the art of acting on stage, voice projection.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? What it
Right.
means to
Writing the
be
stage play, writing the,
writing the stage play,
doing the dialogue
and
and have,
do things
yeah.
like that, because it
Mm-hmm.
fascinated me. And I could just imagine how many other youth are out here that might feel like it's something that they want to do, but maybe it's so far away, it's
Right.
unattainable, maybe because of their situations or their home environment or whatever. Maybe they feel like it's something that they can't reach, but I'm
Right.
like, no, we can get you. Let me help. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm always down to help somebody. So let
Yeah.
me help, and see if I could put you in the room with people who know more, who can
Mm-hmm.
give you those tools to go further
Right.
and learn more and actually get into a field. Because my son is in the music business. And I remember I was like, oh, Lord, I don't want him to be a rapper. Don't wear the gold teeth, baby. Pull your pants up. You know what I'm saying? like I paid for them teeth, them braces. Don't you dare put some gold on them teeth I paid for.
So wait, is he a rapper? Is he a singer?
He's actually a recording engineer.
Okay.
So
Okay.
he likes being behind the scenes, and he goes on tours,
Mm-hmm.
and he does all the audio for tours. He just spoke to some young kids who want to get into the music industry, to let them know, hey, there's more things you could do, but besides rocking the mic, there's all
Right.
of these different things that go along with
A
putting
ton of
one
jobs.
song
Ton of
together.
jobs.
So,
Yeah.
and he is so happy with sitting behind that keyboard, that
Mm-hmm.
desk, and engineering and putting it all together and making it quality for radio
Right.
play or whatever. Like, he enjoys that part of it. And it just made me kind of think like, I want to give that behind the scenes look, because we see the people in front of the mic,
Yes.
but
Uh-huh.
it
Right.
takes so much for that person to be able to stand on that stage and deliver that song. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like, it was a ton of people back there that made that happen.
Yeah.
So, just want to give kids another avenue and another option besides Instagram,
Mm.
basketball, and rapping.
And football.
Like, we
Yeah.
can give you something else. You can aspire, you can still be an artist, but there's
Yes.
other ways you can share your art. There's other ways you can still touch the world.
Well, I am down
Make
with
it
that.
count.
So please definitely contact me. I would like to be there to support that.
Okay.
Yeah, I would love
Yeah,
to.
I always
I
tell
love
people
them. Like,
Faithfully Her was supposed to be a nonprofit when I
mhm.
first decided to make it a business. But at that time, I didn't have a board of directors that was secure, that was, you know what I'm saying? And because I
Got
really
you.
didn't know what I was going to do with it, it was hard to pitch it because I had no idea what direction I wanted her to go into.
Right.
But and now that I have direction, thank you, Jesus.
Yes.
Yes, we're gonna make that happen. So that's coming in the near future. Um,
Amen.
yes, because, and like you said, it's all about collaborating. What is one of, out of all of your books, do you have a favorite?
Yes, I actually do have a favorite. They should all be my favorite, but I do have a favorite. It is, I'll show the cover of it. It's this book right here. This is Thick Chicks.
Okay.
It's about three women. I would say the tagline is, when life gives you curves, you've just got to lean into them. So it's about three women, two are cousins, but they're all friends together, and they're helping each other when one of them has a health crisis. But
Okay.
as you know, stories are all about conflict. So this deals with the theme of envy and jealousy.
Okay.
So some sparks start
No, don't
flying
put it
when
down.
don't
Can
put
you
it
read
down.
us no, can you read us a passage? Give me a passage.
Oh, I can, I can, I
I
can, I
saw the
can. I'm gonna,
bookmark. I saw the bookmark
yeah.
sticking out of it.
No, actually, yeah. It's hard to. That was just a piece of paper I had inside
Oh,
of there,
okay. See,
but
I was
I'll
being too nosy, all up in your business.
it just jumps right. I'm trying to think of, like, what is the best place to start to
And while you're
start
looking,
reading.
that's a good
Yeah.
topic too, because a lot of times you do have that element of jealousy in your girlfriend group. And it's probably almost a shame to admit it, but there was a time
Yeah.
where I was jealous of my girlfriends because I felt like everybody was advancing faster than I was. And I
Yeah.
just felt like, I'm working hard, working these two jobs, I'm taking care of my mama, I'm doing this and that, and I just cannot get ahead. Like,
Yeah.
oh, why can't I get ahead?
It
And
happens to all of us.
I just saw my friends, like, their jobs was paying way more than I was paying because I was working in a nonprofit, organization, and they capped the pay and whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I'm just seeing, my friends, and they're taking trips and they buying new purses and this and that. And I'm over here at Walmart, like, girl, this is a nice bag. Get a pass.
There's nothing wrong.
Like,
Listen, girl, see, that's a whole off camera to the Walmart fashion, girl. That's a
okay,
conversation we need
right.
we need to
And
have.
I remember there was a time, and I hate to admit that, but there was a time that there was a part of me that had that jealousy in me to where I didn't even want to hang out with them anymore. I didn't even want to go anywhere. I didn't want to be by, you know what I'm saying? Because I felt inadequate to the level that they were at that particular time.
We've
And
all had that.
it took me to get on my knees. Well, it took God to humble me in a whole lot of places, and then kind of talk to me and say, hey, little girl, everything in their own time.
Yes. Yes.
You'll be all right, but it's in the timing, and you not ready for it yet. That was his message to me back then. You're not ready. I wasn't mentally ready. I wasn't mature enough. I was grown, but I wasn't ready for what he had in store for me. So he couldn't let me have it. You know what I'm saying?
No,
I
I
had to go
totally
through some
understand
more
that.
stuff.
I
So yeah.
Listen, I totally, as soon as you said going through that yourself, I definitely, that's how I actually got the premise for this. Because it actually came from a moment I had in church where I had a friend, and we were really cool, but she had been missing from church. She had been missing for a little bit, maybe I want to say the better part of it, of like 2 seasons. But when she showed up again, she walked up and I was happy to see her, but my jaw dropped. But she was about a good 75 pounds smaller than she was the last time I had seen her. And I had been struggling throughout that whole year. It seemed like no matter what I did, I was working a job, 3 kids were running through the house, it's all over the place. And no matter what I did, I could not take off any pounds. And I was really trying. And I asked her, I said, you lost all this weight, what did you do? And she said, and she refused to tell me. And so I had a moment of, it was like a mixture of like anger and envy at the same time. It just kind of, I just remember feeling like hot inside, like literally like flames. And I felt inside, and I was upset with myself. And I knew I had to go to the Lord, because like, this is my friend, Lord. Why am I feeling this way? And
Right.
some of it is that feeling of you've been trying so hard, but you can't get to what
Yeah.
someone is just walking up and it was always so easy to them. And then they don't want to talk about it.
Right. Right.
And it was like, whew, if I could bottle that feeling, but it's like, no, I didn't bottle that feeling. I wrote about it. So
Yeah.
and this
Well,
is my
thank you.
longest one.
Well, thank you for writing about it, because I think more of us go through that than we are
Mm-hmm.
probably willing to say
Mm-hmm.
out loud. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I believe that more of us go through that than we are willing to even admit that we have those feelings towards our
Oh,
friends or our family members, or we don't want to come off seeming like we hating
we
or
have the flesh.
whatever.
We have the flesh. We're
We
going to battle the
human.
flesh to the
Mhm.
day we die. There's three things Christians wrestle with: the world, the flesh, and the adversary. And so the envy, the jealousy, the feeling like, why can't I be there, and the sense of entitlement or whatever, I battle with all that. I have to go to the
Yeah.
Lord for that. So I was like, I'll make my characters have to to do that. I'll read a
Go
little
ahead.
snippet. And the reason I didn't want to, I was trying to figure out which one I want to talk about, is because it's three characters. So
Okay.
I was like, it's a young woman, and it's a married woman, and then there's a businesswoman.
Okay.
And so I was trying to, but I'll read from the very beginning, right? A couple of pages here, and I'll stop.
Okay.
Um, okay, so this is Chablis. It's three women: Chablis, Mariah, and Tawanda.
Okay.
But Chablis is the first one, and starts with her. So this is Stick Chicks, a novel. If anyone asked me how I feel right now, I'd say blessed. Being joyful, that's how I roll. So I've got a smile on my face right now, even though I'm sitting in my doctor's office waiting to be examined. Today is my yearly physical. I'm happy because I get to talk and laugh with Dr. Houtman. She likes me and I adore her, but I don't see her that often. I'd probably get like 15 minutes before she tells me I need to get my flu shot and get out of here. Is all that hair yours? The nurse asks when she approaches me. She has a blood pressure cuff in her hands. Definitely. I had a receipt for all 20 inches of it. What type? Brazilian virgin. You can curl it, dye it, make it wavy, straighten it, everything. Well, it looks great on you. She smiles at me while fastening the cuff to my arm, then pumps the bulb to inflate it. It deflates. Her smile fades. Your file says you're 25 years old. That's right. I'm going to do this again. She readjusts the cuff. Okay. She measures my blood pressure twice more, then flashes me a tight smile before she says, the doctor will be in to see you shortly. She shuts the door and I gaze down at my toenails. They've grown long and the red polish has chipped off. I'm off work today. I can stop by Modern Nails for a mani-pedi. I can't wait to get over there after the doc tells me the usual. Blood tests are good. Try to lose a little weight if you can. Have the nurse give you a flu shot. I'll see you next year. 5 minutes later, a salt and pepper haired glasses wearing Dr. Felice Houtman walks through the door. Chablis Shields, love the hair. Dr. Houtman, love the lab coat. We've greeted each other the same way for the past 3 years. I love having an older Black female doctor. There is nothing like it. I can talk to her about anything. So she checks my ears, my nose, my throat, makes me breathe in and out a few times with the stethoscope against my back. Then she sits on her little round stool and pulls up my test results from the computer. She says, looking close to the screen. I know. Take a few pounds off, get my flu shot, right? I swing my legs back and forth and push a long lock of brown hair out of my face. She wheels around on the stool. Now she's frowning. I'm afraid I have a few more directions for you this year. And I stop swinging my legs. Dr. Howman takes off her reading glasses. I'm going to be straight with you. I'm not happy with your blood pressure test or your blood test results. What's wrong? We've measured your pressure 3 times this morning. It's definitely elevated. The last reading has it at 140/90. Your cholesterol levels were better last year, and so was your blood sugar. You didn't forget and eat something the morning of the blood test, did you? I'm thinking now. Last Thursday morning, nope. Lit. Breakfast? No, I only drank water on my way to Quest. They drew my blood and then I drove to work. No, I tell her. Any late night eating? I'm dead to the world at night. The results are that bad? I've seen worse blood sugar numbers, but yours are higher than last year. Okay, these results make no sense. Physically, I feel good. Mentally, well, I've only had one panic attack this year. And that was because Mariah insisted on making me wait on the street corner while she got the car from the parking garage in Chinatown. Some man rushed up way too close to me on the sidewalk. The world in front of my eyeballs narrowed. I felt like I was about to have a heart attack. If not for Mariah finally bringing the car around and nudging me into the back of the seat, I might have fallen right down on the curb. Yes, I have issues, but none of them have to do with my internal organs. So what do? I say, snapping out of my trance. Take off some weight. All for a start. I don't do diets. Can I stop by and exercise class a few times a week? Will that help? She nods. You should definitely exercise. You should also adjust your eating habits too, but those changes may not make a major difference. I'm writing a prescription for blood pressure medication. We'll monitor you while you're on it. Dr. Hautman stands up and sifts through a stack of pamphlets on a shelf above her computer desk. I'm giving you information on how to choose a good nutrition program. And listen, I never believe that crap about everyone needing to have a certain BMI. I see a lot of patients. Some people have bigger bodies, and that's just fine. It's not the number on the scale or your clothing size. If you're living a clean life, taking care of yourself, your numbers are good, I could care less what you weigh. So your blood pressure is up. Now I care what you weigh. Oh, and you've gained another 10 pounds since last year. Fantastic. I mumble, staring at my overgrown toenails again. She scribbles on her pad. Take this. She passes me the pamphlet and a prescription. I sigh and I take them and I stare at the pink slip of paper. The scribble is too hard for me to read, something starting with an M. I have no idea, no clue how it'll affect my mental state. I have to mention that to my therapist next week. Dr. Hautman stares me down. There's a reason they call hypertension the silent killer. Heart disease will sneak up on you. Serious as a heart attack. That's not funny. It shouldn't be.
Amen. Oh my God, I felt like you were talking about me. Like, were you at my doctor's appointment?
No.
That was the exact conversation that I had with my doctor years ago when my blood pressure, I have lupus. And when lupus took over, I was in my 30s. Mm-hmm. So when it started really attacking, my blood pressure shot up. So they were playing off of each other. So if the lupus was under control, you would see the blood pressure come down slightly. If I got stressed out and it activated the lupus, my blood pressure would shoot back up. And my doctor would always ask me, like, you're not having headaches? And I'm like, no, I feel great. Like,
and so it wasn't until you got there. Wasn't until you got there, yeah.
Right. Like, I had no idea that there was, like, and it was high as well. Like, it had got to one point where my blood pressure was like 170 over 120. Like, it was high. Mm-hmm. He was like, this is stroke zone. He was like, I should just admit you to the hospital. And I'm like, I got to go to work. Then I'm like, I feel fine.
But we often don't know. We often don't know. So taking that, realistic scenarios and just kind of weaving them into, and then there's the whole piece of, there's how, when you get a diagnosis, there's how people
how you react
in the secular world would react, and there's how someone who's child of God would react. And so the character goes on this journey. And so she gets a trainer, and she, that's one character, but they're all dealing with something, very, very, they have different ways of handling things. One is dealing with having PCOS and not being able to get pregnant. And there's another one who is like the diva of the group, and she is just running things. But believe it or not, she's the one who has the biggest envy problem.
Oh, okay.
And she, even though she makes the most, she's part of all these organizations, but she's the one who has the biggest clash when she sees her best friend just really making changes in her life. So that's Thick Chicks. And that's my favorite.
I love that. Okay.
And you know what? You need to, when we get offline, I definitely want your address, because you're getting a copy. Sending it directly to you. And I want you to enjoy it. Okay, so
yes, because already I'm like, oh my gosh, she was in the doctor's office.
I'm sending that copy directly to you.
Conversation.
As soon as I get your address, I'm sending it directly to you.
But and I have my two female best friends. We're all curvy, thick, curvy ladies or whatever, and we all used to be really skinny, and then life and kids, and then we had some weight. And then one of my friends, was that last year? Year before last? Year before last, had some cosmetic things done to help with her weight loss or whatever.
Okay. Okay.
And at first I was like, dang, I wish I could get cosmetic surgery. I wish I could get it. I wish I could get it. But my gentleman friend is like, no, he's like, you don't see how great you are just as you. He's like, don't change.
Amen. I like
Yeah, he's like,
him.
don't change you. He was like,
Yeah.
and if you do lose a whole lot of weight, I'm leaving you. And I'm like, that's mean.
Well,
But
well,
and his thing
there's
is like,
always
I
like, you
want,
don't have to
yeah, he's
unless
like, I
it's
want you to
something
be
where your doctor is
healthy.
like, okay, this is going to help you.
Yeah, he's like, I want
No.
you to be healthy and I want you to feel
Mm-hmm.
your best and be at your best. He's like, but I don't want you to feel like you have to go on these crazy diets and take all these different pills and this and that to try to lose weight. When honestly, I think you're great just as is. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, it means a lot. But
Mm-hmm.
even with that, we're on this journey together.
Yeah.
So
Amen.
where we're both
Mm-hmm.
eating a little bit healthier. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? He'll be like, hey, I'm on my lunch break. I'm about to go to the gym. What you doing? And I'm like, I'm up here walking. And he like, all right, just check it. You know what I'm saying?
It's
So
togetherness.
right.
Yes.
Helping each other get healthy so we can have a longer living life. But it's
Mm-hmm.
not about losing weight and trying to be, the itty bitty waistline anymore. It's just about healthy. So he helped me get out of my head about I have to get skinny. I have to lose these 20 pounds. I gotta be, you know what I'm saying? He helped me
Mm-hmm.
get out of my head about it by saying, no, let's just get healthy together. So yeah. And I think that's important for us as women, as people, period.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, like the doctor told her, the doctor said she could care less about what she weighs if she's
Mm-hmm.
living clean, if she's eating
Mm-hmm.
better,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what it is really about.
Yeah. Being healthy. Being healthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? Any new books or anything that you're working on you can tell us about?
Well, yeah, I think it's about time for me to. I have two books. Well, I'm always like a book ahead.
Okay.
So I put my last one was a romance. I put that out in February of 2022. So my next one is going to be. I'd never done a seasonal book, so I wrote a Christmas book called A Christmas Kiss, and
Oh,
it's a
okay.
straight romance. It's a romance. That's also set in Pennsylvania. I really like the character. It's really cute because it has that wholesome kind of hallmarky type. I've never written anything like that before, but this is a grab a cup of cocoa, settle in, read type of
Okay.
book. So that should be, God willing, and the creek don't rise, should be out around Christmas time this year. So end of the year type book because it's seasonal. But the book that I am going to dive in with this year is going to explore parenting. How would I call it? I like to call it the mother wound. Um, Unfortunately, I was talking a lot a, with an acquaintance of mine, and she was going through some severe problems with how she had been raised, and she had been raised by her mom. And we had this great conversation about relying on the Lord as your permanent parent,
Yeah.
because unfortunately, all of our mother experiences are not good ones,
Right.
and it can affect
Yes, it can.
how we go into our adulthood and everything. And when I was talking with her, there were other women around who were talking about um, just experiences that they had, and they were hard mother experiences to have. And I was like, I don't know, Lord, I think there might be something here. There
Mm-hmm.
might be something. This is a tough subject, but I think it might be one that I think I want to go in with. If I could tackle health and weight loss, or Broken Together was about an affair, if I can tackle that, then Lord, lead me. And so I got these ideas for a set of, this is three sisters, and the name of, tentatively, the title is going to be I Don't Think We're Going to Be All Right.
Oh.
So this one's going to be set in Philadelphia again. And I'm just getting, the characters are just now coming to me, talking to
Right.
me
Right.
about their lives, and their mom, her name is Deb, and she's in the early stages of dementia.
Mm.
But Deb was not a very good mom.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, wow, this is, and I do have friends who are dealing with parents who stages of dementia, stages of Alzheimer's, and
Mm-hmm.
dealing with being caretakers. Well, what happened if you had to be a caretaker to someone who, when you were young, was not a very good caretaker to you?
Right.
And you're a child of God. How do you handle that? How do you
Mm-hmm.
handle the people around you and live your life, and you have children of your own?
Right.
So I'm at some point, and maybe like in very early February, I'm going to start to go in deep with that one, and it'll probably take me maybe about a year
Yeah.
to get it, the way I want it to be.
You just telling all my stories.
So I told another
No,
one.
my mother was a good mom. She really
Good,
was.
good,
She
good,
was a
good,
good
good.
mom. There with any and everybody, there was those spaces in time where I wish she would have did more, or she would have spoke up, or there would have been a little bit more fight for me
Yes.
in those situations. But overall, if I weigh the good against the bad, the good outweighs the bad 10,000%. You know what I'm saying? Like, she was a great mom. And my mother also ended up having to move in with me, and I became her caregiver. And she started having early onset. And when she had her first stroke and everything, I did kind of, it was, and I was in therapy. So I'm in therapy. When you're in therapy, they want to take you way back and dig up. So I'm in all of these emotions.
Right.
And then I'm the caregiver. And then I'm like, oh, I just need a break. You know what I'm saying? So I totally can understand how that can affect. And even, as you stated, how it affects us as we move forward and we grow in life. And the way I am with my son is, it's like I wanted to make sure that the things that I felt I didn't get, I smother him with it.
Yeah.
Like, literally smother him with it.
That typically happens. Yeah. No, you know what? Our stories match, because I have the same, and I love my mom, and but there are clearly some things, and there are clearly some things where I knew from her own upbringing that she did not get everything that she needed.
Yeah.
And I knew she didn't. But what she could give to me, she did.
Yeah.
And she's always been there for me. But I go overboard with my kids. I'm just
right.
Just anything that I did not experience. And my mother was hurt a lot. A lot of stuff happened with her that fortunately I did not have to experience. But when I got her as my mom, she was a little bit more closed off. And I understand why, because the way she grew up, it was hard on a lot of our older folks. Was harder on them than it was on us.
Yeah.
And so, there by the grace of God, you have to say, okay, well, if my mom had the tools, she would probably been more like me as a mom, but she did not have that. Right. So I thank God every day that my mom is still here with me, and that I can share all of my little exploits, all the crazy stuff I do, all the books and everything else. She's still here, and I'm blessed the Lord that she is. But I so am ready to write about this mom relationship thing, because I think in some ways, this is what it seems. It's like every Black mom is not Claire Huxtable.
No, she
but every Black mom is not like a crackhead either. So it's not
Penny's mama. What was Penny's mama name from Good Times?
Yes. Right. You know where I'm going with. Yes, every mom is like, it's like there's a continuum. It's not like, okay, there's
it's like
awesome,
Claire
great,
Huxtable
wonderful
is up
mom,
here, and
then there's the mom from Good Times, and in the middle there's some stuff. Yeah. And I think I'm ready to start, where's God in all this? I'm ready to start unpacking the story of these three women and their mother, and they're all half sisters too. So they have different fathers.
Okay.
And I have a thing where my type of fiction is not this neat kind of
Pretty
everything's
package.
wonderful. It really isn't. I don't know. I think that's just
Because life isn't a pretty package.
Thank you.
Life
Thank you.
isn't
Thank
pretty.
you. Thank you.
You
I
know,
wish
what's the
everybody's not
story?
rich
Mama
in my
said there
books.
was gonna be
Yeah.
days like this, or
Mhm.
nobody said it was gonna be easy. Like, life is not a pretty package.
Life is not. And so my
As much as
characters
we
aren't.
may want it to be.
They said, oh, they should be without sin. I was like, well, nobody's without sin, but and I know some people may read my stuff and say, oh, this is a little too messy. It's not for me. But I would say this much. And before, if anybody's thinking about buying any of my books are not graphic at all. They're not graphic. They do mention real life situations. I'm not ever going to shy away from that, because without a test, there's no testimony. There has to be some stuff. So even if I'm writing about a fair, yeah, you're going to hear about stuff that happened in a fair. Is there going to be anything graphic in it? No, because I have a God I have to be accountable to. So no, none of that. You're not going to see any of it. But is there a reference to it?
It's not a Harlequin romance novel.
No, no. Christmas Kiss, a little Harlequin-y, little. But no, the rest of my stuff is, I sold out of Engaged, so I don't have a copy of Engaged. I wish I did. I wish I could show you that book. But you have a young woman who, she gets engaged, and her boyfriend was like the player of the church, but she's marrying him. So how they work out, forgiving one another, and how they deal with money issues when she thought he had more money than he actually did have, and why that was. And so they were dealing with finance issues and everything. Life is messy.
Yeah,
it's messy. But it's, how do they walk with God through, how do these characters walk with God through what they're going through? And then you actually see, well, if you're going to walk through this issue with other people and knowing what happened and get to where God needs you to be, what would it look like? I think my writing that's what I do. I'm going to take something tough and wrestle with it.
And then, I think when you were talking, what I was thinking about was, we have to go through certain things to get to a certain place.
Yes.
So even those harder moments of the childhood growing up, it's all for a purpose.
It's all for
you don't see it then. Of course you don't see it then. You're right in the middle of it. You're living it. You can't see, God didn't come down and say, girl, it's for a purpose. You know what I'm saying? No, you just have to go through it, right?
You just have to go through it. And we all get something different.
Yeah, but when I look back over my life now, I see the connections. I see how this event sparked this moment right here. If that event wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't have had a testimony to connect with somebody else's testimony to help and encourage and build my sister over here up, because I've been through this. So I can relate to how you're feeling. Let's pray together. You know what I'm saying? Like, it all balances. It all comes together, and it's all a part of your journey to where God wants you to be. And it took me to get this age, what I'm saying, in my 40s, to understand it all. And to be able to put those pieces together and see it and say, gosh, I get it now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it, Lord. I see everywhere you were. I see every place your hand was. I see every situation you pulled me out of, everything you saved me from, every time you deterred my path. I see it now. I see where you intervened, and I see where you put me back on this particular path when I was getting a little off track. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can see those things now, and it makes me so appreciative of my past life. Because if it wasn't that past, I wouldn't be me here today. And I'm proud of the person I am now. And although my mom is gone, I always and I tell my son this all the time. So I'm always telling my son how proud I am of him. I said, because when Granny closed her eyes, that's the one thing I didn't know. I didn't know whether or not I made her proud. But now I know that I've made her proud. I've received those little messages and dreams where I know she's proud, and I know she was even then, but I definitely know it now, and the things that I'm doing now in my life. I know that she's definitely proud of her little girl, and I'm just happy to keep making her proud. But again, it's something I always tell my son. Like every time I talk, I'll be like, "I'm proud of you, baby." He like, "I know." And I'm like, all right. And or
I
I'll
love
text
it.
him
I
and be
love
like,
it.
"Yo, mommy is proud of you." And
I
he'll just
love
send me
it.
back some hearts. Or I stalk him on Instagram, like, "Mommy's proud of you." Like I over love him. He always says that. Like,
You've been giving me some ideas. I'm like, oh, I need to start doing that to my son. I need
oh
to,
my
I
God,
need to
I'm
start
so
stalking
over
him.
loving. And he lives in Atlanta now. So when I
Uh-huh.
see him, I like chase him around the house to give him hugs and kisses. Like I can't get enough of him. It's just a hot mess. I'm a hot mess. But that was one of the things that I felt lacking. I didn't
Yeah.
feel like that affection of love. Those, like, I felt like I had to do something right in order to get those statements of love, or those acts of affection or something.
Mm-hmm.
And when I made a mistake and I didn't do something right, it was heck to pay. We talking whoopings, punishments, the whole, you know what I'm saying?
And see,
Like,
now you are in my brain, and you are living with my
yeah.
characters right now.
And
You
so
are
I felt like I always had to
literally
be perfect in order to get loved. And so my thing to him was, you don't have to be perfect for me to love you. I just love you. And I'm going to show you this every day that I possibly can. And if that means you're going to get sick of my hugs and kisses, go get your barf bag, baby, because I'm about to give you these hugs and kisses.
We're gonna overlove your child. I love to overlove. My daughter can't stand me. I'm always kissing her. I'm always like, Mom, stop, no, go away. I didn't necessarily get that. Again, our parents came from a different generation. I get it, totally get it. But that doesn't stop me from like, I'm going to love this girl.
I wanted to
And
break
she's
that cycle. The cycle had to break somewhere.
Me
And I
too.
wanted, and my mother was a whooper. Like she whooped for everything. You look cross-eyed, you get the whoop.
Yeah.
So with my son, I talked to him a lot when he was growing up. I didn't hit him. We had conversations. This is what it is. This is what you did. And this is going to be the punishment for it. And I'm going to hold to that, and I'm putting my foot down.
You
You
learned
know right from wrong. Or we would have those conversations of, listen, going into this situation, before we even get there, you got two paths you could choose. It's up to you, but just know whatever you do, you got to deal with the consequence of it. You know what I'm saying? To give him those opportunities to think and make those judgment calls for himself. And conversation worked. It really did. Thank God. Conversation in a village. So yeah. Okay, wow. So we're gonna wrap up because I don't want to hold you no longer, because we'll just keep vibing, and I'm like, girl, I got another book idea.
I may have to come back. I may have to be like, yo, I finished the book, and I have to come back and talk about it.
When Christmas Kiss come out.
When Christmas Kiss comes out, I will be back. I will talk to you.
I love a love story. I'm a sucker for love.
I love it. I realize I love love. I don't always write them. The Christmas Kiss is my second romance, but I do. After I read them, I was like, I like this stuff. But yeah, we got to have that next conversation.
It gives me hope. Yeah. Love stories give me hope.
Love gives me hope.
Yay!
That's why romance is the number one genre. Romance is the number one genre for that reason. It's the hottest genre. I don't always write in it, but it is the hot genre. Yeah.
So where can we find your books? Where are they available?
They are available. I like to say everywhere. Like I'm using the voice of God, but no, really. You can look up my books on Amazon, on barnesandnoble.com. I think it's bn.com. Where else? Just about everywhere. You Google them, but you can go to my website, www.klgilchrist.com. And I have buttons for every book. I have a button, and you can go and get that book.
Amazon's the first place on Instagram. So after I get your book and read it, so I can shout it out at you on Instagram.
Instagram is at KL Gilchrist.
Is the dots in between the K and the L on Instagram?
No, it's just
Okay.
KL Gilchrist straight across.
And are you on Facebook?
I am on Facebook. It's the same deal. KL Gilchrist Author.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, because I am going to shout this out. Now, before I do let you go, because I'm just
Okay.
not done talking to you, so I'm trying to prolong your time. So tell your family one more minute.
I will. I'm about to, like, as soon as I get off talking with you, I have to actually go pick my daughter up. She's at the dance school right now. So I
Oh,
go
okay.
grab
So
her.
we don't
Yeah.
want the baby to be late getting picked up.
The baby's, yeah. I have to go pick the
Yeah.
baby up. Yeah.
Okay, so real quick, something
Mhm.
that I like to do is called the Faithful Freestyle.
Okay.
So we're just going to random questions, just a few, answer them off the top of your head. And it's just our way of getting to know you a little bit deeper on a more personal, intimate level. Is
Okay.
that cool?
That's cool.
Okay. So what was your favorite class in high school and why? I think I know the answer to this.
Definitely English, because we got to read a bunch of books.
Yes.
Yeah, English.
And what was the best advice you've ever received?
Oh, that's a good one. Wow. It's the best advice I ever received. Man. I wish I could think, you know what, why it's hard for me, because I'm that nerd that's always reading advice for like everything all the time. And so I'm constantly, well, I'll give you the latest advice. Latest advice is that if you want to appear as though you're a wealthy person, you have to wear the colors that wealthy people wear. And wealthy people wear a lot of camel and navy and charcoal gray and other neutrals. Okay. So if you ever go into a space where you're like, I want to be perceived as being dressed well and looking wealthy, then you wear the colors that wealthy people wear, and they wear a lot of neutrals. Yeah, they do, and flip-flops with socks. No, I see weird random advice. Again, every day I have like a random advice thing that comes to me. Yeah, that's one of them. Okay. Are you if you were an animal, what animal would you be? Jaguar. Jaguar. Yeah. Okay, I like that. Cat person or dog person? Dog person. Dog person. Yeah, I'm a dog person too. But I see big dogs, yeah. Celebrity childhood crush. This is gonna make you laugh. Bobby Brown. Yes. Don't Bobby be cruel. Brown. I would never be that cruel to you. Yes, I shouldn't admit that, but yes, Bobby Brown. Celebrity childhood crush. No, I like that Brown, question. New Edition. New Edition. Love Bobby was mine. Yes. Like, who did not love New Edition, right? I don't know. Me and my girlfriend's gonna go see New Edition in March. We're gonna because they're coming to Atlantic City, so we're gonna go. Yes, I'm a grown kid. Yes. Yes. Okay. Last question. If you, what would your theme song be? Golden by Jill Scott. Like it. Love it. Oh, and the other one was, I'm sorry, I have two. One is the other one would be All Right Already by Yolanda Adams. Okay, yeah. It's Already All Right by Yolanda Adams, yeah. Well, I want to thank you, Keisha, for sitting here and just chopping it up with me and letting me get all up in your business and everything. To my faithfully her family, this has been a great conversation. Please go and get the books. L Gilchrist. She has 5 books on the market right now. Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, anywhere to sell books. L Gilchrist. Look it up, order the books. You will love the reads, and you're probably going to see a lot of yourself in her books. I can't wait to get mine. I am going to coming to you. And I will let you guys know when I get it and when I've read it, and everything is going to be great. I'm going to put all the information for how you can contact Keisha in the description box.
And if you want to reach out to her, you can always go to her website and learn more about her, the things that she's doing with her movement when her books are coming up. Hopefully any workshops or speaking engagements will be on the website as well. So if you're in that Philly, PA area, Pennsylvania area, you can go and check her out and see her in person and attend her workshops and learn if you want to become a writer.
Yeah.
Learn the craft and learn from someone who is doing it, been doing it for a while and doing it very well. Do you want to leave us with a final thought or anything?
Yes, I do. I want to say something to my Christian creatives out there. Whatever you're working on, God needs your art, God needs your talent. Please do not feel like, oh, because you're getting older, maybe you shouldn't do it, or because you have kids, maybe you should wait until later. No, don't bury your seed, put it away. Don't bury your talent and or discard it. Use your talent, get it out there. If it's going to glorify the Lord, push it out there.
Amen.
Push it out there. And it doesn't matter if you make money from it or not. I have to throw that out there. Just do not bury anything that's going to glorify our God. I just want to leave you with that.
Amen. Amen. Well, again, you guys, I want to thank you guys for tuning in today to this segment of Faithfully Her. I've enjoyed my conversation with you. I want to keep in touch with you. I'm going to email you my number and everything so we could keep in touch that way. And yeah, and we could continue to support and build and help your message get further and further out.
Thank you.
No, I thank you so much for sharing your time with us. And to everybody else, as always, show up, show out, and shine. Have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye.